I just have to, I got to sign these, but
That's okay. We can do it in
Yeah.
a month.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks. Welcome everybody to the MSAD11 Policy Committee for May 5th, 2022. I'm going to call this meeting to order. I'm Tony Beat. I'm the Policy Committee Chair.
Matt Marshall.
Andrew Bitteroff.
Hopkins, Superintendent.
And so we have an agenda in front of us to look at a couple of policies. We do have folks here, I think, that have stuff to share. So let's make it a little bit of an agenda. Do we have to do a motion to modify that?
No,
We can just-
no. And I guess I would introduce the issue or the
sure, yeah.
request, okay? So back, I think it was in December, January, you as a board approved a new updated facility use policy. That particular policy had been worked on for a year or so. We had a committee, we did extensive work on it, and you approved it. And one of the changes included what's called Priority 4, which includes MSAD11 school board approved student feeder programs comprising of 80% of MSAD11 students. And through that committee work, we were trying to address the fact that various organizations were trying to state that they fell within a certain category. And it became very difficult for administration to manage that. So the committee wanted to be really clear and defined. So the committee came up with a list of organizations that are true feeder programs to MSAD11. And they include the youth, Gardner Youth Football, basketball, field hockey, cheering, boys and girls club sports, Gardner Youth Fire, and Cal Ripken. So basically what this policy said is those are the only feeder programs that we will recognize that will fall under Priority 4. So if there's any other organization that wants to be considered, they would have to receive board approval to be considered a feeder program. So I received a request from Shanna Epperson, who is the owner, I guess I would say, of the Atlantic Youth Sports. They operate out of West Gardner, and there are various elements and components to their overall sports program. They don't service just one group of students, like it's not just basketball necessarily. It's not just a travel team, it's not just a feeder program. However, they do have a group of students, 100% MSAD11 students that are a feeder program to MSAD11. And so I will certainly let Shanna describe it better than maybe I am, but she is here to request that you consider allowing not Atlantic Youth Sports in its entirety, but this group that is dedicated as a feeder program to allow them to be classified officially as a feeder program under Priority 4. How did I do?
You did really well. That was pretty good. Unfortunately, the games are all, the teams are done. So, so now we would be going into like fall. So again, what we try to do with even our other sports programs, lacrosse and softball, we're trying to get volleyball going too as well. We try, I guess we are a feeder program for Gardner because we try to bring in Gardner kids to play basketball and other sports. What I was trying to do there was that it was really, I was feeling bad for the parents because, and I get it because I've been there many, many years with trying to figure out this whole policy thing too as well. But we had 100% MSAD11 and they were traveling out to Whitefield in order to practice. So that, and most of them were from Gardner. And it was really hard to have to tell them that unfortunately we are considered a priority 5 right now. And they just, the parents had a really hard time. So I guess overall, I'm just trying to fight for our program to be considered a Gardner feeder program, as we are about 80% overall with our sport. Volleyball, not there yet, but overall, we are 80%. We have eligible students from Whitefield, Jefferson, Windsor, all those areas too as well, that all would come here if there's a chance for that. And I'm just trying to give an opportunity for MSAD11 students to have a play. And then, so I guess what I'm asking is for a chance to be considered a Gardner feeder program.
So when we met, you specifically stated that you were not asking for your entire organization.
Correct.
Are you today asking that your entire organization?
I think so, because I have like lacrosse girls, for example, neurodiversity runs that, and the majority of those kids are all the Gardner, and that is who is playing right now for lacrosse. So I kind of like, but originally I was fighting for that because I felt at that time in March when we met, I just felt that team was the only team I was focused on. But where now we're in May, I'd like to see if there is any hope for us to be considered that.
And I would just say for the policy committee, if you're going to consider adding Atlantic youth sports, then it would have to be every team under your umbrella that would have to meet that 80% threshold.
Yeah, the 80%. Yeah, correct. And so, like I said in the meeting that, because this is kind of, again, in May, I can't say what will happen in the fall, but the way how my brain works is I try really hard to say, okay, if let's say, I don't know, we have 10 players that for basketball, 10 players that are from another town, they're not practicing in MSAD11. They can go practice over closer to where they are in Waterville or somewhere, wherever they're from. But that's how I work. But if I have 80% of a team, I would rather them be part of the MSAD11.
Right.
Because that's, I mean, it's just like our varsity basketball team. They were elite girls through my program, and they are being very successful right now. So I want to try to get back to that for my kids going through.
Sorry, what grades are we talking about?
We typically do like 5th grade up to high school.
Okay. And I guess what have you run into at that category 5 sort of level, that the facilities aren't available?
Yeah, so that's one of the things is that facilities are unavailable. But we try to keep costs low. Like I try so hard, if a parent is struggling, we try really hard to keep that low. So it's one of those things where it's like, my kids are now in MSAD11, like middle school and elementary school. I feel bad that they have to travel to Whitefield, Waterville, Bodenham. Yeah, on a school night. And so it just kind of a struggle to that we never had that problem before. And now it's one of those things where cost comes into play, because again, for our residents, I try to keep that low for them, because it's not, we make no money. We make nothing. It all goes back into them. And yeah.
And so if you're a priority 5, there is a charge for the use of the facilities.
Right.
And what the problem was from previous years, that we had a lot of people coming to us and expressing concern, is that there were organizations that were utilizing our facilities that are in such demand that it was creating an issue that many of those organizations, the majority of their kids were coming from outside of MSAD11 and they were getting to use the facilities for free. So that's why we thought it would be better to really designate the organizations. So,
And I'm willing to do whatever I have to do to make this work. I am not one to tell you that, yeah, we're gonna be 80% and then I have a Lawrence team coming and processing here. That's not how I work. So I'm pretty, like, I will be straightforward. If you guys need to see a list of the kids that shows MSAD11 kids on there, I'm okay with that. I try to do that.
and I just have to say that I really appreciate and respect the way you went about this. That oftentimes you have people who are disgruntled and instead they go behind the scenes and they never actually contact me. They don't talk about the issue. They don't try to figure it out. And that's exactly what you did. It was like, okay, let's talk about this. So I really appreciate and respect that you followed that process. And here we are trying to accommodate, based upon your request. So I'm really appreciative.
So is Gardner Youth Sports a category 4 or 3?
A 4.
There are 4.
So that means that there are no rental fees.
And in saying that, there are kids that come from Chelsea. With kids that play in Gardner Youth Sports that aren't necessarily in our district, right?
Right, as long as what the policy said is that there has to be 80%, the majority MSAD 11.
I'm sorry, I arrived late. My name's Teresa Garrett. I live in Pittston. So what is your cost to the kids? Or do you have team sponsors or how does that work?
Sure. So I actually run like crazy amount of stuff. Usually for like travel, it's 150 for MSAD 11 in Chelsea.
For the season?
For their season, it's like 6 to 8 weeks. And then it's 175 for other districts. So the 150 covers actually it covers the fee to play in a travel league. So it's $900, I think it is. So $900, so we make $200. And that pays for the insurance that we are covered under and our auditor and everything that we have to follow. So yeah.
Do you ever get sponsors or can you?
We get local sponsors. We right downtown, Janet Slade and all of those local sponsors. I try to use them as much as we can. Like 3-on-3 we're running right now, which is $30 per kid right now for MSAD 11 kids. And all of the businesses, we have about 20 businesses that sponsored and they covered all the cost of the shirt and they put their name on the front. So it's all local sponsored. So again,
Do you have insurance?
Yes.
And
Yes, I'm an insurance agent, so I better have insurance.
and the other question I had was forgot. It slipped my mind. I'll come back to it, I'm sure. Let me think about it.
So you are a for-profit or you have a nonprofit?
I have a nonprofit organization.
So I certainly like the basketball piece was looking like it's 100% MSAD 11. And certainly we do have that 80% piece in there too, which, we hammered out pretty thoughtfully. I'm noticing, I don't know if we have a good metric on how to determine that. I think that's the piece that I want to make sure we're doing.
That is, once the board has made the determination,
That's what this is, yeah.
then administratively, we don't have the capacity or the process to verify on an annual basis that an organization is indeed following the 80%. Looking at historically, Gardner Youth Football, basketball, all of these organizations have historically been here a long time. And they do have that track record. So historically, they are primarily for Gardner.
Mhm.
So I don't recall the committee thinking that it was necessary to do any type of follow-up and verification.
So some of the organizations right now, they're considered category 5 would be goalball probably, right? And I'm just talking primarily basketball.
Right now, we have like dance,
Yeah,
because dance pulls from so many places, and gold ball, that's in the.
There was one other one, it was started with a W, West something or.
There is, I am not aware of any other, all your policy says is gold ball and
Yeah.
dance.
um,
There may be another one, I'm just not sure what it is. So, I mean, based on my conversations, with Shanna and what we've heard here, I think that her organization meets their criteria that was established and the intent that was set forth by the committee that spent that year creating this. So I would be in support of adding Atlantic Youth Sport
As a nonprofit and a.
under category 4 as a feeder program.
Now, I just want to ask a question. What's the difference between you and gold ball?
I knew that question was gonna come up. So one of the biggest things that we try to push is we allow all kids to play. I don't care if they've never played basketball before. I want them to play something. And I just feel with his organization, I think what he does is great. He just tries to do the best of the best. And that's not what our program is about. And I just feel that the big separation right there from us. And we do tend to have the 3 mottos that for us is like building their confidence. That is a huge thing. Teamwork and respect. Those are the biggest 3 missions that we try to do.
And I think he encourages that too.
Yeah,
When the committee created this, the committee we had coaches, we had various, a broad representation. It was the belief that 80% MSAD11 threshold is not met with gold ball. And so that's the factor. Many of the students are from like Winthrop and other areas, school districts, not primarily MSAD11.
Excuse me.
yeah, I do feel that, I mean, again, I'm not trying to pick on another program or anything because what he does is what he does. But gold ball tends to go above that. I just don't feel that he encourages MSAD11 kids to play. I think he encourages select few, and that's it. And that's how I feel. And whereas we try to have MSAD11 kids. Like, this is what's gonna build your high school program.
Will you ever turn a kid away that wants to play? Is there tryouts?
We have tryouts, yes, for travel. So we have tryouts. If for some reason, the only reason why we would turn a kid away is because they don't have any respect for their coaches.
She often will find another coach and have 2 teams if there's, instead of cutting a bunch of kids. She's made me do that multiple times.
So way back when my kids went to school here, there was no program whatsoever for girls. There was nothing for girls.
Right.
And so I twisted Ginger Shaw's arm and we introduced summer basketball program for girls because there was nothing. And we used LER's gym and it became, I don't know what became of it because I did move away, moved out of state. But it was something that wasn't developed at all. It wasn't, I mean, it was breaking ground because the girls had nothing. It was really sad because the boys had everything. And ours was just, the kids paid $25.
Yep.
We got donations for the shirts and that was it.
okay.
And that's one of the biggest things that another reason why I started it 10 years ago was because there was nothing for girls. And the numbers when I started with Gardner Youth Basketball, there was 7 girls on a travel team.
What's our,
And that was really hard.
sorry, yeah, I just want to check on what our next move would be if
So
this,
the next move is if the board, if the committee is in favor of adding Atlantic Youth Sports as a feeder program, then for one of you to make a motion, a second, you guys vote on that. And then that would modify the policy. So the policy would have to go back to the board to officially approve that.
And so what would that look like for time, court time?
For court time? I don't
Yeah,
know
Like
what
the,
that
on
means.
the staff book.
Yeah, usage.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. So how much, obviously, there's a, it's important to try to divvy up as much time for everybody as we can, right? So what are you looking at for the amount of time you think you would need for this particular organization?
Usually 2 days a week in a school,
Just any school, could be.
any school.
Could be Helen Thompson.
It could be Helen Thompson, LER. I'm not looking for just high school or middle school. I'm looking for wherever I can get a course. That's
So-
all I'm asking for.
So tournaments or games themselves, like for example, if you were going to, would you be hosting, say, something at the junior high on the weekend?
That will be very rare. The only thing I can think of is when the elite decide to go to Disney, we might ask for that, where we know there is a cost to that. If we were wanting to do something like that, but that would be to help with keep the cost low for them so that they can go play down at Disney, just like the varsity girls did.
And I'm sorry, what age group is this again? Middle?
So we do from grades 5 through 12 for girls and boys. We open that up. We do have more girls than we do boys. But all I'm asking is, I feel
Practice.
yes, practices, something. It just where kids are having to travel to Whitefield for practices or Waterville. And it's a full MSAD11 team. I'd rather give that MSAD11 team to an MSAD11 school than having them travel to Waterville 45 minutes away.
so what do we think? We good for a vote? Yeah, all right. So let's see, I'll move it that we would add Atlantic Youth Sports, let me rephrase that, thank you. To as an approved feeder program under priority 4 on our facility use policy.
Second.
All right, any discussion, further discussion?
I would just say that it's going to be really, really important for everything in general to make sure that you stay above 80%.
I agree.
Yep.
Well, per policy, you have to, right?
Right.
If you fall below 80%, then you're going to be kicked out of the feeder program and you're going to be put into priority 5. So there would be a fee associated.
I do 100% agree with that.
All right, thanks for your communication here. All right, all in favor? All right, opposed?
Okay,
Awesome.
thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Appreciate everything you do. You do a lot.
Thank you. Have a good day, guys.
Thank you too.
Thank you. Just one clarification, this will go to the board. For
Probably next month. I'll
next
put
month,
it
so
on the
they-
agenda
yeah.
for next month.
Yeah. All right, so we do have 12 other policies to get through. Do you want to do any prioritization?
I'm gonna start off by saying no, but then see how it goes.
That's what she always says.
Right. So the first one,
I came in to sign documents. Are they here? Where are
I
they?
think people are signing.
Oh,
them.
no.
Oh, okay, good.
Good to know.
So so, and
There's a
there's
whole bunch of stuff.
special
There is.
pins.
There is.
Oh, not as much as I've seen.
Don't forget our pen.
Yeah.
I have a pen, Jim, if you need one. I have one.
Oh, share.
This one.
Yeah, use this
one so far.
This is the
Can I
special
have
pen.
yours and her and John?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
All right.
So, all right, so we have policy we have policy GBB, which is staff involvement in decision making. And this is just one of the routine policies that needed to be reviewed. The only changes that I made is just reducing the number of MSAD11s in here, but that's it.
And I had a little thing at the last sentence of paragraph 3, improving staff research. I know this is, I'm going to try not to put too much on. Improving staff research, analytical and decision-making abilities. That read sort of weird to me. I would tend to use the word analysis or analytical skills, but if we want to leave it there, I could do that. It just stood out as like analytical. Yeah, if it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. Let's leave it.
I don't know that it
Yeah.
matters to me.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't change it. All right,
Okay,
good.
all right.
Thank you.
GE technically is not up for reconsideration. However, the next policy, the GER is, so it makes sense to keep them together, right? And so that the renewal or the review happens at the same time. There's one MSAD11 that is not crossed off here, and I would, that last one in the last paragraph.
Yep.
But other than that, I don't have any changes to that particular policy.
It says collective bargain agreement. Should it say collective bargaining agreement? Does that matter? Look, and they're all listed. All the CBAs are
This
collective.
policy addresses compensation benefits for those positions not included in any of the collective bargaining.
Oh, it says,
units.
sorry, it's in paragraph 3. It says bargain agreement. There.
It should say bargaining agreement.
Yeah.
And that's in paragraph.
Well,
I see where
yeah.
you said 3.
sorry, paragraph 2 then, not counting that.
I thought I brought a notebook down here so I could take notes because I knew
You
Tony.
knew. I tried not to, I really did.
It is not here, so,
sorry.
all right, so let me write my notes on the back. I just knew. All right, so GE, it would be paragraph 3. It would be-
Yeah, that was the agreement.
Yeah.
Not unit.
Okay,
Cool.
any other changes on this one? Okay, anyone else?
I read them all. Something
What?
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, so GER, this is the policy where the meat actually is. This has already been discussed previously. This is again for the IT department and for my office staff. So in this particular policy, the changes include the holiday, the paid holidays to include Juneteenth, and there's a modification for salaries for the IT department to reflect current local wages. So that where it says 21-22, that would be changed actually to 22-23 with the amounts that we're recommending.
Yep, I'm good. There's a couple of his, hers in there that
Oh,
could change
okay,
to theirs. I just searched and
okay, then I missed that.
so,
I'll catch those.
yeah, so just search his, search her and
Yeah,
there. There is one other thing I just wanted to point out, which is, it's in sick leave, so still in GER, paragraph B. So the second line there, Yeah.
find it under sick leave.
yeah, just,
Okay,
so I'm gonna just read, so it's the second sentence, it's actually the ending of, or the middle of that. Sick days are to be used only for illness or injury which prevent an employee from performing his, her assigned duties or other responsibilities and medical appointments. And I think and medical appointments is supposed to be with illness or injury and not in that section. Doesn't matter.
under B, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
You could make it,
I'm looking at the wrong, okay,
yeah.
I'm looking at, see here where it says A, B,
Yeah,
so I'm
sorry.
looking at this B, okay, so
Sorry.
the first paragraph.
you could make a change just to make it say, sick days are to be used only for illness or injury that prevents an employee from performing their assigned duties or the responsibilities and medical appointments that cannot be scheduled outside of work days.
So you're keeping it there under B and not moving.
That
Okay.
says the same thing.
So-
What
Well,
I
actually,
think this, I
maybe
think
the-
what we did, I think all we did when we updated this policy last is that we went to collective bargaining agreements for our other associations and we cut and pasted.
Oh.
So I think that's where this language came from, but
You know,
I will take a look at that. I do think that some clarity and we can easily clear that up.
because I think it is saying that the sick days are for the medical appointments. It's just where it falls in
Yes.
the clause.
Yeah,
Doesn't.
right.
And,
It's
but,
because it's for medical appointments that can't be
Yeah.
scheduled outside of the workday.
yeah. So, yeah, if you can look at that, if there's another place to put it.
Anything else with that policy?
Good.
Then IGA. This policy, I have not had a chance to look at. This policy is curriculum development and adoption. It went through curriculum.
Hmm.
And I know all of the changes that you see here were reviewed by curriculum. And so I don't know, Matt, is there anything that you want to add?
No, we scoured through it, and I think that it was ready for policy. frankly.
So I don't have anything to add there. Do you? So I see something
I see something
highlighted.
highlighted. The only thing that, this is just my sort of rub, is that the quotes around best practices, I would tend to want to lose that and put like evidence-based practices or something. But I could live with them. No, I'll live with it.
Okay,
I'm good. That'll-
right. Anyone else on that particular policy? All right, then the next one is IHA. This policy was also just reviewed by the curriculum committee. So I think it's pretty straightforward, pretty basic, the changes that they made. Any questions or concerns? Any highlights?
I have a highlight on world language. It went from foreign language to world language, which is cool.
Yeah.
Should we say languages, plural? So,
Plural.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I'll fix that. Anything else on IHA? The next one is on JICH. This is the drug and alcohol policy. And the only change that I made to that was under legal references. I needed to add a legal reference.
The only thing I would note there is where that, one of that in section A, there's a crossed out MSAD11. I think the word in before MSAD11 should be crossed out.
Yes, you're right.
And then there was a little bit of a language phrasing at the top of page 2, which is this first paragraph, second to last sentence. It says second offense goes to the board for an expulsion hearing. I know what that means, but it seems casual to me. And so I was thinking like second offense will automatically be referred to the board for an expulsion hearing. It's more words, but I mean, it works, so.
That's up to you. Yeah.
Anybody care?
Right, so
Yeah.
tell me again, second offense
I was thinking.
will be referred.
Will
to
be
the board?
referred to the board.
For an expulsion hearing.
For an
from
expulsion,
school.
yeah, everything else.
Okay.
And the next, sorry. I'm good on that one.
Anyone else on JICH? Right, what about JICHR, which is the administrative procedure for the drug and alcohol policy?
There's a he, she on A3.
So we're not allowed to use he, she anymore? Is that what it is?
As a committee, this committee had previously decided that we were going to be neutral.
Switch to
Yeah,
they and there.
so I don't know where you are.
So yeah, so this is, whoop, sorry.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah,
I
thank
got
you.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Cool. There's a his, her, which could be a there.
Yep.
On
Two.
on 2, yeah, nice.
Okay. Any other changes on this particular policy? Hearing none. The next one is JICK, which is bullying. So with bullying, there were some changes in the law that constituted a few more changes to this policy. So they're all double underlined. So I'll just leave it to you to, you have your questions.
I had just there's a missing closing parenthesis on 3 with one of the new things such as socioeconomic. It says including race, color, or national origin. So yeah, it's opening parenthesis, sub parenthesis, closing sub.
Can we just get rid of the one in front of such?
So
This including all of these things or any other distinguishing characteristics such as that.
I think so.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be okay to eliminate that there.
Yeah, awesome. And I think this says, this one goes into the student handbook.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for some of these, around the drug and alcohol, the bullying, and the questioning and searches, which we'll do next, there is a timeliness to it because we want to make sure that we get them in the hands of administrators to put them in the handbook before the beginning of the school year.
I had one other question on this policy. And maybe I'm just missing it, but the examples seem to I just came up with a crude vernacular about it, but it talks about, targeting a student, about a student. So it talks about sending material about a student, posing as the targeted student. Sorry, I'm on page, let's see, on section B, the top of page 2, I think. Sorry, nope, top of page 4. Application policy. Section 4, B, and then the top of page 4.
Mine has reporting at the top of
No,
page 4.
sorry, I guess it's misnumbered then. I'm at
Top of
this,
page 3.
I guess the top of page 3.
Okay.
So it talks about a student targeted posing as. My question is sending things impersonating or representing another student.
Like example, somebody
Well-
texting somebody or emailing them.
And then it talks about messages that are mean or threatening. I'm wondering just about sending pictures to somebody. Because it says to take or send embarrassing pictures of other students. What about sending embarrassing pictures to other students? Which I'm thinking it means.
You can include that too and clarify. I mean, this is not all inclusive,
Okay,
right?
But not
At the
limited to,
top,
yeah,
right? It's
but not
not
limited.
limited
Okay,
to. I
yeah.
mean, we can't include every
Yeah.
possible event. But this came from our lawyer,
Yeah, no,
right?
it's comprehensive and,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
okay, yeah, it's not limited, okay.
Can I ask you a question? Who interprets? Having been a fat guy all my life, I really hate fat shamers. And is it would that be covered here? I mean, so often it's okay to make fun of fat people when it isn't okay to make fun of bulimic people.
It's the context in which things are
Yep.
said.
Okay,
And that's left up to the administration's responsibility.
and they are
to
aware
do
of
an
that and they do
investigation.
take note of that. Okay,
Absolutely.
very good.
Absolutely.
So when we consider cyberbullying, for example, a student that's a freshman and maybe another student that's a sophomore, the cyberbullying is taking place over the weekend, outside of school, not on school property. The text messages or emails that were sent weren't sent during school, they were sent in the evenings. How can we do anything about that?
If the exchange has an impact on the school, somehow potentially impedes their learning or their access or their ability to have a non-threatening school environment, if it crosses that line and it impacts the school, then we have an obligation to address it.
No, I don't
Whether it
disagree,
occurred
I'm just
outside
asking the
school or
question
not.
because
Yeah.
it's kind of a slippery slope.
Right.
has it been
And there are-
adjudicated?
And there are many times where, there are times where we're not able to get involved because there is not a direct impact on the school. But I would say the majority of the time, there is a direct link to the school, and administrators end up spending a significant amount of time on this.
Assessing that, yeah.
Has it ever been adjudicated as far as going to court?
Sure, about cyberbullying
No, about
specifically?
Outside of school versus inside of school?
Oh, sure, we've had lots of things go to court.
Okay, very good, good.
Yeah.
I just had thank you, good discussion to everyone. I had a little reflection on the use of the word superintendent. So.
If you want to take some authority.
Yeah,
that's okay.
no, I want to actually.
Go right
no,
ahead.
no. That's not where I'm going, yeah, right.
To add more.
So section Roman numeral 5, A, so reporting, superintendent is lowercase right there. And in other areas of I think even this policy and other policies, superintendent is
It should be
capitalized.
capitalized.
So I'm actually giving you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, but it should be capitalized. in the-
Unless you feel like gravitas.
There's a, yeah, we need a little gravitas here. And there's a couple others of those, I think.
Yep.
So heads up.
In that same paragraph,
Yeah. It's not a huge thing, but just.
okay.
There's one other series. I can live with it. It's the reporting. It's these. The who was after student apostrophe S.
It should be that.
Well, I think you can just lose the who was. You can search it and lose it, and it could say the student alleged or students alleged.
Inform parents or guardians of students alleged to have you.
So if you can search and delete, then there's a bunch of these who was's that change depending on the subject verb piece.
So you didn't catch all of these changes the first time this policy went through,
No.
right? That's not new, Tony.
So we can leave it because it makes sense if it's just one student, the student who was, and it's worked, right? I did notice it this time.
Okay, thank you. I'll take a look at that.
If it's easy enough to search and delete, I'd say go for it. I know this is you doing it, and I
Yep.
don't want to put that on you. I would do it if you would let me. Yeah, I did. I think I'm good.
That's it?
Otherwise, yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
Anyone else? Okay, then, along with this particular policy, you also have the JICKR, the administrative procedures. Again, these were modified to match some new information that just came out from our attorneys. One, it's providing some greater clarity under the appeal process. And I noticed that this particular policy didn't include a cross-reference. And I really felt like for families, it should include a cross-reference. So I added that as well.
I just have let's see, there's one, the superintendent's designated superintendent could be capitalized there.
And where is that?
Sorry, it was at the top of this one. First paragraph, first sentence, school principal or superintendent's designate. And then letter C, so ABC, yeah, it just says, it's a definitional thing. It says retaliation means in quotes. And I think it should say retaliation quotes means.
Mhm.
Did that get by me in the past too? Yeah.
I have a question. So on bullying, it says the reporting form needs to be filled out JICK-E1. Now, if the school staff notices bullying, the student doesn't have to fill out the report. The staff can report it on behalf of the student.
Yes, students don't have to fill this out. Families can fill it out. If they believe that their child is being bullied, they can fill that particular form out. Students can fill it out, staff can fill it out, administrators can fill it out. So it could be completed by a number.
So
of
if the
people.
student's fearful of retaliation, somebody can step in their place and do that for them.
Yeah, oftentimes, I would say the majority of the time, it's administration that will fill out these forms.
Yes, you know. Thank you.
On D, I mean, there are some things that we do as a district as far as sponsoring things, for example, trips, trips to Italy or Greece.
Mhm.
And I know it specifically talks here about school grounds type stuff, including transportation. Some of that could help, some of that could take place on potentially one of those trips.
Right.
Is it covered? Does D cover that? you think?
Yes, because it says, or used by a school for a school-sponsored activity function program. So I think it's covered in that language. Anything sponsored by the school district that
Good.
an individual is participating in is, must follow school policies. Are we set?
There's some more who was's students that I think we could just delete. Again, if it's easy enough. If it's not, let's leave it. It's under responding and investigation. If it's a search and, delete, let's do it. If not,
Okay.
right.
All right, is that good? Good, okay. And the next one is one of the forms. It's the E2. And this form is here and not necessarily the other forms, because on the bottom of page 6, there was a checklist that I noticed this form didn't include. That's really important and needs to be present. So I added that checklist. So you'll see where that's all underlined. Is that all right?
Yep.
All right, then the last two, I'm just keeping an eye on the clock, is JIH, questioning and searches of students, and JIHR. So with just JIH, we don't have any significant changes, just to eliminate a couple MSAD11s. Do you have any?
No, that looked good.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, and then under R, the administrative procedure, you will see that I did in fact incorporate some other language that was missing. Some of this, again, came from a policy that I'd received from our attorneys. So I tried to incorporate some of the language that they provided that MSMA had not, that I felt was really important to include. So I don't know if you have any questions regarding any of those additions.
There's some E and she stuff in there too.
There are more?
Yeah,
I
there's a-
caught one.
There's, the paragraph 300 questions, questioned by school administrator.
A3, there's a he, she. There was a, I would put in a clarifier on B1. I'm gonna, so school administrators are authorized to search students and or personal property in students' immediate possession when in their judgment. I would put in the administrator's judgment. Just to clarify that. So it's not the student's judgment, right?
Mhm.
In the new text, in the first sentence before will be seized, it's the buddy of the one from earlier in the sentence.
Okay, which new text are you referring to? What page?
Page 1, the second paragraph of the overall thing is underlined. It begins during a search.
Mhm.
And the end of that sentence is of the school population. I think there should be a comma, will be seized.
Okay. Gotcha, thank you. Anything else?
Do we want to put parents / guardians of the students, that second paragraph of new stuff at the top? I mean, I'm okay with parents, but yeah, the parents / guardians. Thank you.
Anything else?
Nope.
I think I'm good.
Okay. Then, that's awesome, thank you.
Right,
Um,
we do it.
yeah, that's great. Now, there are still a number of policies that we have not reviewed, that we had hoped to review. May is usually an incredibly busy month, so I am not certain if I will be able to get back to any of those policies. So I don't know whether we will have any policies to review for June or not, okay? It may be something that we pick up again in the fall,
Oh,
Right.
okay, yeah, I mean,
because we don't often meet during
Yeah.
the summer, so.
Yep.
Okay,
right,
Do they still have lockers?
I'm sorry.
Do the students still have lockers?
We still have lockers, yes. They're not used extensively at the high school. We have a few, but the lockers at the high school are about this wide. So we've removed a lot of them. There are lockers at the middle school. There are definitely lockers in the upper grades, at the elementary schools. Yeah. Okay, then we're
Okay.
adjourned.
yeah, we're adjourned,
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
yeah.
Yeah.